Hi everyone, welcome to Sheep Farm. Thanks for taking the time to watch or listen. This is Sheep Farm's first film series, entitled Shut the Flock Up. What I hope this film and future presentations do is empower you all. Empower you all to ask questions. Questions of yourself. Questions about the way we're all being shaped and controlled in every single aspect of our lives today. Question the actions of governments here in the UK and around the world. Question the honesty of our leaders like MPs. And look into the integrity of our medical, financial and legal systems. And to look deeply into the false promises of education, charities and big business. In fact, to question all of the institutions and even democracy itself. This film series is about how we are all intentionally controlled. I'm not asking you to agree or disagree, because me or you have no relevance to truth. Your truth or my truth is not the truth. And that is also the case for what we've been told. So please, sit back, relax, and hopefully enjoy Shut the Flock Up, Episode 1, Fake Sheep.
Every nation in every region now has a decision to make. Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
On Tuesday night, I gave the order for British forces to take part in military action in Iraq. Tonight, British servicemen and women are engaged from air, land and sea. Their mission? To remove Saddam Hussein from power and disarm Iraq of its weapons of mass destruction.
Breaking news we're getting from the PA Newswire that there's been reports of an explosion outside Liverpool Street Station. That, of course, in the East End of London. It's the bordering area. You'll be maybe familiar with the Swiss building known as the Gherkin.
Tonight, President Obama's goal was simple: to explain to a public skeptical about the war he's launched in Libya
what we've done, what we plan to do, and why this matters to us.
This is not a time right now to wishful thinking the government is going to sort things out. The governments don't rule the world. Goldman Sachs rules the world.
The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, health care, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
A few tears now for protection later. Most mums in California vaccinate their children against measles, mumps and rubella and other illnesses, but especially now.
This is now a clear global problem. The absolute consensus is that human action is leading to an increase in average temperatures. Absolute consensus. I know you may try to argue with that, but you can't.
Right now, we're facing a man-made disaster of global scale. Our greatest threat in thousands of years, climate change.
I'm Dee Collins. I'm the Temporary Chief Constable here at West Yorkshire Police. Just before 1 o'clock today, Joe Cox, MP for Batley and Spenborough, was attacked in Market Street, Birstall.
We are approaching one of the biggest decisions this country will face in our lifetimes, whether to remain in a reformed European Union or to leave.
For we meet in an hour of change.
The words conspiracy
In
theory
a decade of hope
or fake
and fear.
news are now being used to ostracise or even mock people, just for having another view of events. They are generic terms inserted into the mainstream media and used to confuse or inflame certain situations. And they've been very successful in watering down any alternative theories, regardless of evidence or relevance. No one ever wants to be a conspiracy theory nutter, do they? But theory is different from fact, and facts is different from truth. But facts can be made to look real when they aren't. So how do we sieve out all the rubbish and get to the real truth? Well, unfortunately, we may never get to the full truth. We may see glimpses of truth through the evidence trail, if we look closely enough, but that's all we'll ever see. That's what the tag of being a conspiracy theorist does. It stops us all from critically thinking, or questioning the conventional narrative, especially out loud, simply because we don't want to be ridiculed. We all generally want to be vanilla. Even the most extrovert, which I will show you later on. We don't want to be different or stand out from our peers to be made fun of, and the very fact that we're told we're all individual seems to be lost on all of us. If this was correct, why would we need to be told in the first place? Yes, we all try to be different, individual and independent, so much so that unknowingly we all end up being the same anyway, pigeonholed into hobbies, interests and entertainment that are all very similar. Now, it's not entirely all our fault, but we do have to own some of the responsibility in what happens to us, and the actions taken out in our name by governments and businesses. So don't be too surprised, considering the size of the resources available to the powers that be, whoever they are, that they always win. For instance, I didn't like school, and school didn't like me. I got no qualifications. It's nothing to be proud of, I know. But school felt like prison to me, whatever prison feels like. I can remember being in a history lesson once, a subject I actually liked. The British Empire was being discussed, and I said, "Sir, didn't the British Empire use slavery?" And the teacher said, "Shut up and get on with your work." Now, looking back, this was probably the first shift in my life, a watershed moment. I saw history without real history, a part truth, a strip of daylight under the door. Let's only talk about the things we want to discuss. Every other version of events is irrelevant. In other words, it's a school curriculum, or education system, otherwise known as the indoctrination system. You see, history is always written by the winners, and real questions can't be asked, because it upsets the status quo's version of events. And we all like a happy ending, don't we? If you ask a question about global warming or climate change, or global warming climate change, whatever it's called this week, a question like, if the average annual temperature is -60 in the highest parts of Antarctica, how can it be melting? A reasonable question in my opinion, but that doesn't fit with conventional wisdom. And now you are a fully blown climate denier, or an anti-vaxxer, just for asking a simple question. So guess what? No one dare ask that question, not out loud anyway, without being vilified. It's the modern day version of the Spanish Inquisition. The mindset is, you're either with us or against us. And we just go along with it, keeping our thoughts to ourselves. But by doing this, we are validating their actions. Actions that are then taken out in our name by governments and business. Over time, these actions become part of our everyday lives, and the next generation that comes along just think it's normal to have these type of constraints. Like it or not, we've all been conditioned this way. to react to certain situations in certain ways. This makes us more pliable, easier to read, and even easier to manipulate. Trillions of dollars and millions of hours are spent making sure we all goose-step in line and march to a particular beat. So I'm not expecting anyone to understand, agree, trust, or even believe me. In fact, I'm asking you all not to. This is my take on events, and it took me years to fully accept that I'd been duped by a system I'd put all my trust into. The video clip coming up shows how we can all be manipulated to do things without thinking. It's called the Asch Conformity Experiment. Please watch carefully.
But an experiment is not a public opinion poll. It examines behavior under the pressure of social forces, as the experiment of Solomon Asch reveals.
The experiment you'll be taking part in today involves the perception of lengths of lines. As you can see here, I have a number of cards, and on each card there are several lines. Your task is a very simple one. You're to look at the line on the left and determine which of the three lines on the right is equal to it in length. All right, we'll proceed in this order. You'll give your answer.
Only one of the people in the group is a real subject, the fifth person with the white t-shirt. The others are confederates of the experimenter and have been told to give wrong answers on some of the trials. The experiment begins uneventfully as subjects give their judgments.
2, 2, 2, 2,
2,
3,
3,
3, 3.
But on the third trial, something happens.
2,
2,
2,
2,
2.
The subject denies the evidence of his own eyes and yields to group influence. Asch found subjects went along with the group on 37% of the critical trials. But he found through interviews that they went along with the group for different reasons.
1.
1.
They must be right. There are 4 of them and 1 of me.
1.
This subject's yielding is based on a distortion of his judgment. He genuinely believes that the group is correct.
1.
1. 1. 2.
1.
2.
2.
2.
I know they're wrong, but why should I make waves?
2.
In this case, the subject knows he is right, but goes along to avoid the discomfort of disagreeing with the group. Here, the distortion is at the level of his response.
2. 2.
2.
2.
In the previous experiment, the naive subject stood alone against the group. In this variation, Asch gave the naive subject a partner, here seated in the third position, who also gives the correct response.
1. 1. 2. 1.
2.
With a partner, yielding drops to only 5% of the critical trials compared to 37% without a partner. Although subjects report warmth and good feeling toward the partner, they typically deny that he played a role in their own independence. The partnership variation shows that much of the power of the group came not merely from its numbers, but from the unanimity of its opposition. When that unanimity is punctured, the group's power is greatly reduced. Sometimes we go along with the group because what they say convinces us they are right. This is called informational conformity. But sometimes we conform because we are apprehensive that the group will disapprove if we are deviant. This is called normative conformity. The strength of the normative factor is shown in another variation carried out by Asch. In this variation, the subject is told that because he had arrived late, he would have to write his answers. Subjects in this private response experiment are exposed to the same amount of misleading information as other subjects, but they are immune from any possible criticism by the group.
1. 1.
1.
And this enormously reduces the pressure to conform. Conformity drops by 2/3. Asch's experiment is a classic. It reveals how people will deny what they see and submit to group pressure. It allows us not only to observe conformity, but to study the conditions that increase or reduce its occurrence.
The ash conformity experiment is a prime example of mind control mechanisms at work, and they are still being used on us by governments, intelligence agencies, secret groups and businesses today. It showed beyond doubt that we can and are easily manipulated en masse, whether we like to accept it or not. Solomon Asch was a psychologist and pioneer in social psychology in the US, also known as social engineering. He measured the number of times each person agreed with the rest. On average, about 1/3 of the participants who took part went along or conformed with the clearly incorrect majority. About 75% of the participants conformed at least once, and 25% of them never conformed. In a control group with no pressure to conform, less than 1% of the same people gave the wrong answer. So why did they conform so readily in the control groups? When they were interviewed afterwards, most of them said that they did not really believe they were conforming, but had gone along with the rest for fear of being ridiculed or thought peculiar. It does make me wonder how many times we have just gone along with it, when we thought something was wrong or total nonsense, just to keep everybody happy, only to realise afterwards it was a terrible mistake. I also find it interesting how we can be easily manipulated and coerced and shaped into doing things, with or without our knowledge or control. Voting in elections is one easy example to mention. Here in the UK, since I was old enough to know about elections, different parties have fought them on the same policies. Policies like education, police and crime, NHS and health, jobs or unemployment, environment and defence, etc., etc. But nothing ever changes though. We are voting for an illusion. Like the Asch experiment, it's a line that we're told is one length when it's not. Look at Brexit. All sides were telling fabricated lies about the NHS, for example, convincing people to vote one way or the other. But was it the truth? Will the NHS get hundreds of millions of pounds a week if Brexit does or doesn't happen? No, it'll probably go down the drain. So who will pay? We will. We always pay. We hear rubbish like this at every election, and no matter who wins, nothing happens. Don't you find it odd how no one is ever held to account for all of the lying? Can't you see nothing ever changes? It's all superficial. Apart from the magicians in the magic show, that is. I know all this information is a little unbelievable, and even overpowering for some. But the first hurdle we must accept is that fellow human beings are harming us by design. It doesn't really shock me now, but it did once. And human history has a very bad habit of repeating itself. This is shown to be true time and time again. So why should now be any different? One thing I will say is that the system is an amazing, relentless, ruthless machine. It stops for nothing, controlling every single inch of life. And it's self-managed by us. Because this is, after all, a democracy we live in, which is freedom, right? And to believe in freedom, we need a purpose, which is what we will look into more detail next time, a superficial purpose. I hope you've enjoyed Sheep Farm, Shut the Flock Up, Episode 1, Fake Sheep. Tune in next time to Episode 2, Zombie Nation. See you later. Bye.